Hi, this is Sam Manfer, and welcome to C-Level Selling Tips. This is tip 1. Leaders make decisions, but you're stuck with the subordinates. Leaders decide, whether you believe this or not, whether there's going to be purchase or investments made in a company. They also decide what level of spending they're going to be making, and they make that decision based on the magnitude of the problems it's going to solve or the expected revenues or rewards it will yield. And they don't make their decisions based on price. They make it based on, as I said above, the revenue generated or the magnitude of the problem it's going to solve. A lot of people call this ROI, but in these days, ROI is made up of two functions, revenue generation and cost savings. The revenue generation these days is far more attractive to C-level executives and profit center leaders than the cost savings. Everybody's always talking about cost savings, but who can make me sales and generate more revenue is really far more attractive. So they don't really base their decisions on the price of your service, but what it's going to return. And then they'll decide who's going to supply it for them, this service that they decide they want to have, or this purchase they want to make, or this investment. And they decide based on who's going to give them the most with the least amount of risk for them professionally. Once again, this is not about price, even though the subordinates are going to tell you a lot about price. But the senior level people are going to make that decision based on who has the least amount of risk for me professionally and who's going to do the most for me. And that's how they make their decisions. Leaders also delegate. They have their subordinates do the legwork and things like that, which we'll talk about in a second. But rest assured, they make the final call. A lot of people, a lot of subordinates are always going to say they're in charge, it's been delegated to them. But delegated means they do the legwork and they bring the information to the senior level executive for him or her to make the decisions. Leaders listen to their staff of executives, and this is why you need to be known by these people. You just don't want to just go straight up the chain of command. You want to move up and out to be known by the staff so that when they're talking about this decision, this investment, they're talking about you in a favorable way also. Now, leaders don't necessarily listen to their subordinates. I mean, they can be and are often dismissed, but they will listen to their staff. Now, based on this, common situations that you're going to get is you're stuck with the subordinate. As I said before, they do the legwork. They ask you to they solicit bids, ask you for proposals, do presentations, do all the drill that you got to go through, and then you wait. They decide if your offer fits their expectation. This is the subordinates now. It's not necessarily what the senior level people want, but it's, the subordinate is making this decision. He or she's doing all this legwork, collecting all this information. If it fits their expectation, they pass the information upward for approval. And if it doesn't, they don't. And this is where a lot of times when you'll go in with a new idea with someone and it just sits and sits, they're a little excited but nothing happens, it's because they don't want to go through the risk or the effort to push it up. So it just sits there. Hey, this really looks good, I'll get back to you, and you never hear anything because the idea doesn't really appeal to them, or they just don't want to exert the effort, or the risk of their boss might think something about it. So this is another reason why you want to make sure you get to those C-level people. The subordinates can say no, you're out. That they can do. Anybody can kick you out. But they can never give you the final yes. No matter what they say, oh yeah, I'm going to decide, it's my decision. They really can't. They've got to get approval. That rubber stamp up above, that rubber stamp is not as rubber as you think it is. It's pretty solid. So never believe that the subordinate can give the final yes. Now here's what results when you're stuck with these subordinates. You're locked into the purchasing trenches here. Time is wasted. Your sales cycle just extends and extends. You spend a lot of money on making sales calls, trying to satisfy these people. You try to get friendly with them. They expect you to get, give them some perks and things like this. But perks are usually low-level kind of people that are looking for these things. And they expect them from all the vendors, which in that case gives no one a competitive advantage. And the other thing too is a lot of times you'll be thinking, well, I'll develop a good social relationship with these people and then I'll get their business. I'll be their friend, be friendly with them, talk about the kids, their baseball games, all those kind of things. But these really form weak professional bonds. I mean, you could be the godfather to one of these people's kids, and if they sense that they're not going to get out of you professionally what they want, you're not going to get the deal, no matter who you are, and you'll always be their godfather, but you won't get the deal. So they make very weak professional bonds. So here's some things I want you to do. I want you to check yourself, score yourself on using this score. 4 is always, 3 most times, 2 usually, 1 sometimes, 0 never. And I'm going to ask you 2 questions here. Just keep score. When you approach a sale, do you focus on getting to the highest level managers, especially the profit center leaders? Do you always do that? Sometimes you do it. Usually, most of the times, never. Give yourself a score there. And 2, do you find yourself giving information to 1 or 2 people and typically sticking with them? Do you always do that? Just 1 or 2 people, whoever asks for the bid, I give it to them, and, I work with them quite a bit. Or 1 or the other people. 1 or 2 of the other people. Most of the times you do this. Usually you do this. Sometimes you do it. Never. You give it to, you're not going to give it to 1 or 2 people. You're going to give it to, a lot of people. So score yourself. 1 minus 2. Now, if you got a positive number, that's good. That means you're on the right track. You're focusing on getting to the profit center leader, and you're just not giving your information to 1 or 2 people. You're getting it out there to everybody, which is really what you need to do so that you can develop more and more supporters for your initiative. Negative means you need some work. And in that case, I've got some ebooks that are really going to work you through this problem. And I feel that no selling office should ever be without them. And you can get them at www.clevelsellingtips.com. This particular book has got 4-page narrative, describes how to handle the situation. It really goes through the whole situation. It talks about it in more depth than I'm doing here right now. And then it's got a section, it's called the preparation section. It gives you all kinds of actions, 5 actions, of what you can do to solve this problem. How do you not get stuck in these trenches with these purchasing people? And then the final section, which is really very powerful, 3 ways to, I call it taking it to the streets, and it gives you 3 ways for this section to make you feel comfortable implementing the actions. A lot of times you get actions, you get ideas, you get sales tips and things like that, and you say to yourself, I can't do that, or that's not going to work for me. Well, this section gives you the tools to help you work your way through these actions. In all of these, there's about 25 different books based on different selling situations and different tough problems that you encounter. Can be had at clevelsellingtips.com. Okay, until our next selling tip, good selling.